Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video here. Week 2 playoff predictions. Well, not playoff predictions. It's good thinking here. Week 2, just NFL predictions. It should be. I think it's gonna be a step down from last week. Starting off even with the Thursday night game. Like last week, at least we got gonna probably be a good was a good game between Dallas and Tampa Bay. This week, we get the New Jersey Giants and Washington. I mean, it's a divisional game, but if there's a divisional game you don't want to watch, it's probably that one, except for maybe Giants and Eagles. But like, it's a step down from last week already, and like the Monday game's not going to be as good. The Sunday night game might be better. We'll see what happens when we get there. But let's start off with the Houston Texans versus the Cleveland Browns. Need I say more? Like, the Texans are pretty much the new. Actually, that was probably the Jaguars. Jaguars and new Browns. But the Browns are solid. They're just pretty good everywhere. They have a solid wide receiving core, a great running back core, a solid quarterback, and defensively you got a great edge in Myles Garrett. But other than that, pretty solid. Linebacking core just pretty solid. You got pick of Jalen Johnson, and the rest of them pretty solid. Denzel Ward in there too. When you look at Houston, Tyrod Taylor played all right, but that was against Jacksonville, so I don't really know what to say about him. And outside of that, you got nothing. I mean, what do they have? What do they have that's going to help them win versus Cleveland? There's nothing. The only way Cleveland loses is if they beat themselves, which could happen, but unlikely. I think Cleveland comes out on top here. Next, let's move on to Bills versus Dolphins. This is one I think can be a great game. I do have the Bills coming out on top. I'll say that right now. But Miami looked solid against New England. I mean, first of all, you had to go to New England and then beat New England in New England. Kind of not the easiest thing to do typically. Miami did it. Now they're playing Buffalo at home after Buffalo had an interesting week 1. This is a game to keep an eye on. Like all signs could, like when I was thinking about this earlier, like kind of points to a Dolphin upset. But I think the Bills just too good of a team. They're just a better team. Their defense played pretty dang good for the first 2.5 quarters, and that was against a fairly solid offense in Pittsburgh. Nothing special, but it's better than Miami's offense, I would think. So I expect them to continue that through the 4 quarters, and I expect Josh Allen to pick it up a bit. So I do have the Bills winning. Broncos versus Jaguars. Again, I don't feel like I need to elaborate this much. Jaguars suck. The Broncos don't. Broncos don't suck. They found a good quarterback in Bridgewater making plays, and they beat up on the Giants for the most part. Yes, maybe the score was kind of close-ish. The Broncos, they were in full control the entire time. I see nothing different with the Jaguars. It doesn't matter where they're playing. They could be playing in Denver. They could be playing in Jacksonville. It doesn't matter. Denver's going to win. Unless Trevor Lawrence just goes God mode. There's no way. There's no way Jacksonville wins. Next, New England Patriots at the New Jersey Jets. Again, this continues with the theme of bad AFC games, and why it's going to be a step down this week, because 3 out of the 4 games I don't think are going to be close. I think the Patriots are just going to dominate the Jets. I don't see Zach Wilson having a great game. Might stupidly bring into question the drafting of Zach Wilson. I think, while it wouldn't have been my quarterback, they should have taken a quarterback. But the Patriots are just too good defensively. There's the New Jersey struggle. The Jets, they struggle against Carolina's defense. Carolina's defense, and now Mekhi Becton's out. The Jets are just gonna get killed. Like the Patriots offense, first of all, good enough to get by that Jets defense. Marcus May is the only one I'm worried about, and that's not even a big concern. I know Bill's got this, but as for the Jets, it doesn't match up well. Jets are going to get their ass kicked. Now, what could be another good game? Raiders versus Steelers. I mean, if this was played in Las Vegas, I might give the edge to the Raiders here, except for it's played in Pittsburgh, and Raiders already had their upset of the year. So I'm going to go the Steelers. I love their defense. Their offense has all the right pieces, just need to start using them correctly. It started to click second half, but I think against the Raiders got good pass rush against the Ravens, but still couldn't really get anything. Granted, Big Ben's a lot slower than Lamar is, but I have faith. I think that Najee Harris is going to have a great game, because I mean the Baltimore running backs had a great game, with one being Tyshawn Wallace, I think, and then Latavius Murray, who just walked in a week before. Now Najee Harris has been there all year, well, since he was drafted, but yeah, I think Najee Harris is going to have a great game this game, and the Steelers will end up winning. Now, what might be the most entertaining game of the week? Kansas City Chiefs versus Baltimore Ravens. Before all of Baltimore's injuries, I was honestly giving this game to Baltimore. I was. Now I got to think about it a lot more. I am going to give it to Kansas City now. I trust this will be a great game. Like, pretty much no matter who the Ravens throw out there, it's going to be a great game. They're going to have a hard time stopping Mahomes in the passing attack. I mean, stopping Tyreek Hill, first of all, is extremely difficult to do. And then you have to stop Travis Kelce. And then there are other mix of decent wide receivers thrown in there, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't like it for the Ravens defensively, especially seeing how Derek Carr and Darren Waller tore them up. Travis Kelce, I think, while Waller and Kelce are fairly even receiving-wise, I think Kelce just gets open in a different way in a different way than Darren Waller does. And we'll see himself open a bit more. Plus, he has Patrick Mahomes throwing it to him, who is not afraid to throw it into double coverage, knowing he can place it perfectly, where Derek Carr played it more conservatively, not throwing to Waller in double coverage. But I still think Kansas City's going to win. I can see the Ravens winning this game. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Kansas City is just too good of a team, especially right now. Now, moving on to some AFC, NFC games. Let's mix it up a little bit. Cross-conference matchups. Start with Cincinnati versus Chicago. Cincinnati looked solid against Minnesota. For the most part, Minnesota just looked disappointing. I think the Bears have a better defense right now than the Vikings do. While not on full display against Los Angeles, I think it's there. I mean, you have Khalil Mack, you have great Akeem Hicks, great front seven, pretty dang good secondary as well. Little step back from previous Bears defenses, at least even in recent memory, but still, I think it will be good enough to slow down the Cincinnati offense. Enough to where Andy Dalton specifically David Montgomery, but Andy Dalton and David Montgomery can lead the Bears offense to a win. That's pretty much it for that. I think the Bears are going to win. I think it can be very close, but I do have I like the Bears a bit this year. I do like them. And I think even Justin Fields can have a pretty nice day against. I get, like, Jesse Bates is nice, but outside of that, I don't trust Cincinnati's defense, and I think the Bears are a slightly better team, and they're playing at home, so I'm going to go ahead and give it there. Next, we have the Los Angeles Rams versus the not the Tennessee Titans, the Indianapolis Colts. I was disappointed in the Colts a little bit. I had a feeling Seattle was going to win. I picked them to win. I didn't realize it was going to be like that. You could have expected a bit more from the offense. I mean, first of all, I didn't. But their defense, Wilson and Lockett just lit them up. It was bad. And now you get Matthew Stafford, who you can say isn't as good as Wilson. I think is close. I do give the edge to Wilson. But then you give Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Lockett and DK, fairly even. That part's fairly even. And I like Sean McVay as a play caller. I see no reason why they won't do the same thing to Indianapolis. And Indianapolis, now they're playing against a defense that is better than Seattle's. So if you think that they struggled against Seattle offensively, just wait till this week until they have to go and play that Rams defense with Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. Yes, Aaron Donald actually disappointed me a little bit week one. But I think against Indianapolis, the offensive line better than Chicago's, but I still think this defense is going to have a great game against the Rams defense will have a great game against the Colts. Sorry, I'm a little tired. Moving on, my favorite game of the week, honestly, Dallas Cowboys versus Los Angeles Chargers. I just think these two teams very evenly matched. Offensive-wise, two pretty good young quarterbacks, solid running backs. I think Cowboys overall have a better wide receiver core and offensive line, but Justin Herbert, Justin Herbert, overall they're very close. They're very offensively speaking, pretty similar teams. I favor the pass, can run if needed. Now defensively, they're both not great. They're both solid enough. Like Cowboys forced some turnovers against Tampa Bay, which is pretty nice to see if you're a Cowboys fan. And the Chargers held Washington's okay offense to only about 19 points, somewhere in there. Don't quite remember for some reason. But I think the Chargers are gonna win this game. I like their offense. I like their offense a lot, and I think their defense. You get Joey Bosa, Derwin James. You mix that all together, all two of those together. I guess you can include the rest of the 9, and you get yourself a solid defense. And I think it's good enough to get some pressure on Dak Prescott, force him to make one mistake, and from there you're done. I think Dak's going to throw an interception. I think I wouldn't be surprised if there's a fumble in there too. But I got Los Angeles winning this game. Next, Tennessee Titans, Seattle Seahawks. Tennessee was disappointing. It was bad. That was beyond bad, honestly. Their defense just wasn't there. Couldn't get any offense production from any of their 3 offensive studs and Ryan Tannehill. And it's going to be no different against Seattle. Seattle has a great offense put on display against the Colts. Tennessee sure does not have as good of a defense as the Colts do, so they're going to absolutely get killed. They're going to get wrecked offensively. As for Tennessee's offense, I expected them to be good. I mean, you have 2 pretty physical wide receivers in Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. Got a good enough quarterback to get it to him, and then you have Derrick Henry who should take pressure off both of them. But none of that happened against Arizona. Yes, Arizona got some pass rush in there. Chandler Jones 5 sacks, on pace for 85 of them. So basically, if Seattle can get pass rush in there, Tennessee I think is kind of screwed. If Tennessee's O-line stays firm or stays strong enough, I think it's going to be a great game. Really, it comes down to Tennessee offensive line, because if their offensive line doesn't hold up like they did against Chandler Jones, they're screwed. Okay, Derrick Henry is going to struggle. Tannehill's not going to have time to get the ball out to his 2 wide receivers. And I think Seattle's going to win. I love their offense too much. I love their defense. To pretty much, I like Jamal Adams in this game. I think Jamal Adams is going to have a great game, both in coverage and pass rushing. It's going to be great. For Seattle, I think Seattle's looking like a very, very dangerous team right now. Now the game that's happening in probably mere minutes at this point, Washington versus New York, or New Jersey Giants versus Washington. I got Washington winning. I don't see the Giants moving the ball offensively. I don't see it happening. Maybe it'll happen later in the third or early fourth, but outside of that, I think the first quarter they might get shut out. Second quarter they might get a field goal. Even that's pushing it a little bit. Washington's defense is just too dominant. The only reason the Chargers were able to do something was because their offensive line was good. You got Rashawn Slater, who played great, Corey Linsley, who played good. Giants don't have that. Giants, they don't have it. This very little difference defensively from Denver to Washington, talent-wise. Maybe scheme-wise there's something different, but overall talent-wise, very even defensively. I don't see a way that New York moves the ball, and then Washington's offense isn't great. But it's good. It's good enough. Heineke provides a spark of electricity for this team, and they could get going. Antonio Gibson, I see no reason why he's going to have under 80 yards rushing. Terry McLaurin, I think, will have a solid game, even though going against James Bradbury, solid cornerback, still giving the edge to Terry McLaurin. And then you got your other wide receivers, who I, for some reason, can't name the rest of them right now. Pretty sure Curtis Samuel's one of them, Adam Humphries, and Daz Newsome, I believe. A couple of their wide receivers, Antonio Gandy Golden, who I like a lot. But yeah, I got Washington winning. I think it'll be 24-10, 24-13, something like that. But Washington's defense is just too good. Washington is just too good. Moving on. San Francisco versus Philadelphia Eagles. This is a common upset pick. I think fairly reasonably. I kind of like the Eagles in this game. I don't like the Eagles' offense against San Francisco's defense. That gives me concerns. Nick Bosa off the edge. Granted, a lot of San Francisco gets hurt. They do that for some reason. By week 3, all of San Francisco's week 1 starters are on injured reserve. Hopefully that doesn't happen this year, because this team's talented. I just feel like there's just something is offsetting me right now with this 49ers team. I think it's offensively. You have Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. They both played pretty well. Trey Lance, pretty much a perfect passer rating. Garoppolo had 300-something yards against Detroit. There isn't very much of a difference defensively between Detroit and Philly. I would give the edge to Philly a little bit, just because they have Darius Slay, and that's really the only reason. So I could see San Francisco struggling a little bit offensively. I also could see them struggling a little bit defensively. It seemed like Atlanta had no answer for Devontae Smith. Jason Verrett went down, so that's a little concerning for San Francisco. I don't know. I have a team picked. I'm questioning a little bit now. But I'm still with my gut. I think San Francisco's defense is just a little too good. I like Nick Bosa against this line. Yes, the offensive line has some pretty good pieces to it. A bit banged up last week, but I love Nick Bosa. Love Fred Warner. I like San Francisco to win this game. It'll be close. I think it'll be a very good game to watch. I do have San Francisco getting past, though. Philly's surprised me a little bit this year. Speaking of surprises, New Orleans Saints versus Carolina Panthers. One of my closer friends here, one of my suite mates, is a huge Saints fan. He thought they were going to lose. Definitely did not see this game coming at all from New Orleans. And I see no reason why they can't replicate it. I mean, they just destroyed the Green Bay Packers. They tore them to shreds. And now you go from Aaron Rodgers to Sam Darnold at quarterback. You go from a decent Packers O-line to Carolina. Cam Jordan's going to eat. I wish Davenport was playing in this game just to blow the fuck out of the Panthers. But Jordan's still going to do great. Lattimore is going to be good. I think he may have gotten injured. No. I think he's fine. Maybe got injured during the game and came back. Anyway, their secondary is going to be just fine. Their defense, I have no concerns with. Offensively, I expect them to be better. Honestly, like Jameis's numbers might be better this game than they were against Packers. Maybe not the touchdowns, but he's going to have, I think, nearly 300 yards. Kamara's going to have a great game. I'm surprised went this long without mentioning Kamara. Kamara's going to do great. I expect about 100 yards rushing from him, 50-ish yards receiving, 50-plus yards. The Saints are going to blow out the Panthers. The Panthers, I think, might score a touchdown, maybe get 10 points. But New Orleans is just, they're looking great so far. I see no reason why why they won't continue this. Yes, the Panthers can be decent. And actually, beginning of the year, I had the Panthers winning this game during the offseason. But after that, there's no shot. New Orleans is winning. Falcons versus Buccaneers. Buccaneers disappointed me a little bit. I'm going to be honest with you. Played pretty good. Tony Brown was nice to see that, honestly. Mike Evans a little questioning. But guess what? It's the Falcons. They don't have anyone that can cover. Well, you got A.J. Terrell, who's not bad. But when you got three wide receivers that I play like at first I had some little bit of concerns throwing Antonio Brown in there, but after last week, you got three good wide receivers for Tampa Bay. Falcons don't have three good secondary pieces. I mean, their best defensive player is a linebacker in Deion Jones, Grady Jarrett. But they're both going to, pass rush-wise, they're going to struggle because Tampa Bay has one of the better offensive lines in the league. Deion Jones in coverage, not my favorite. He's solid at it. But when he's going up against someone like Antonio Brown or Ronald Jones out of the backfield, even or Fournette, however they're going to do it how are we going to do it this week? Scotty Miller in there too. Guarding Gronk, I don't like defensively this matchup for Atlanta. And offensively, I don't like it either. Atlanta's offense frustrated me. Not that I wasn't really cheering for him. But when you have Matt Ryan on 3rd and 9, you throw the ball. Okay, fine, it worked once with Cordell Patterson. That doesn't mean it's going to work every time. Throw the ball. Please. Need Calvin Ridley to get his fantasy points. That's going to be tough, though, this week. The Buccaneers have a great defense. Atlanta, your running game is not going to work. At least this week. Maybe not ever. Okay, that tends to happen when you have a bad offensive line and Mike Davis is your running back. Running game tends to not be great. Passing game can work against. Passing game, I think, can work against anyone. When you have someone like Calvin Ridley and Matt Ryan, you can make that work against pretty much anyone. Still not enough to beat the Buccaneers, though. Buccaneers are great. Buccaneers are going to win. Now, probably one of the biggest positive surprises, Arizona Cardinals. They're playing Minnesota Vikings at home this week, and they're going to beat them up. Minnesota's defense looked bad. Jamar Chase put Patrick Peterson in a blender. That play was fantastic from Chase. Granny didn't get targeted the ball. If he had, it would have been all over the place. But now you get DeAndre Hopkins in there. You get Christian Kirk in there. You get A.J. Green against this Vikings defense. I don't see a good result from Minnesota. I don't see this ending well for them. Their offense is good. I expect this to be a pretty good offensive game. You gotta stop Chandler Jones. That's the only concerns I have is the Cardinals pass rush. Chandler Jones, and now attention is being drawn away from one of the most physically freaks ever in J.J. Watt. I expect the Cardinals pass rush to get there. I do think offensive wise the Vikings will be a bit better than Tennessee was. Still going to struggle a little bit. Like you can take advantage of Arizona's secondary. That's what their big weakness is on defense. Arizona's still going to win. Vikings aren't there yet. A bit disappointing against Cincinnati. I had the Cardinals winning this one. Then finally, the Monday night game, Detroit Lions versus Packers. Aaron Rodgers could try his hardest. He could throw it to Detroit every single throw that he has. Packers would still win. Yes, Detroit had a nice comeback against San Francisco. DeAndre Swift actually looks pretty dang good, and I'm happy about that. But I mean, you stop DeAndre Swift, you stop this offense. Like, what's Jared Goff gonna do? Throw it to Quintez Cephas, Tyrell Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown? Like, Amon-Ra St. Brown can be something. He's not right now. And then you got Jair. Like, this offense, if you got to focus on stopping DeAndre Swift. If you can do that, Packers, you're fine no matter how hard Aaron Rodgers tries to throw the game, if he even does do that. Plus, if he does, just put in Jordan Love and run the ball every play. You'll be fine. Packers are going to win this game Monday night. And that's it for week 2. That's my predictions. I, of course, will be 100% right. Even though I was 6 and... What was it? Was it 6 and 9? Let me see. I wrote it down. 7 and 9 would have been. But hey, I think that's pretty good from last week. Like, I'll take it. But this week, we're going 16-0. I'll see y'all later. Have a nice night. Adios.